So it's been another hectic weekend in the Championship, and we're back for another episode of the Championship Roundup. We've got a bunch of talking points to go over today, which I'm of course interested to get your guys' views on. So leave all your thoughts in the comments down below. I'll leave a bunch of polls for you to vote on as well. If you do go on to enjoy the video, make sure you leave a like. But before we do get into anything, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors over at OneFootball. As always, I'll leave their link in the top line of the description down below. Over on there, you can go and read up on the games that went on over the course of this weekend, look at some of the stats in a little bit more detail, and you can also keep up to date with all the fixtures that are going on over this festive period. And we've got a lot of Championship action coming our way over the next few weeks. We've got a bunch of matches, and with how close the table is at the moment, things can change so drastically come the end of December. So like I said, OneFootball, link in the description down below, I'd highly recommend it. And before we do get into any of the games, I will include you guys' score predictions on screen now. So if any of you did successfully manage to get any of your score predictions correct, then fair play. I just got the one correct this weekend, that being the Wigan against Huddersfield match. So not too bad going from me, just an average one really. But without any further ado, let's hop in to talk about these games. So starting out with Friday night's fixture, which saw Charlton drawing 2-2 with Hull City in a very dramatic game down at the Valley. It was Charlton who took the lead and probably had the better of the first half. Really, Hull weren't really offering too much. They were a little bit sloppy in that first half. But Darren Pratley with a header in the 34th minute got a run on Lehigh and diverted that into the back of the net. But Hull started out the second half brightly. Jared Bowen once again getting on the score sheet. There's no doubt going to be a bunch of interest in him in January. It was a nice ball put across the box by Grosicki, but you can't help but feel like Charlton should have done much better defending this one. Pearce just sort of stopped and let the ball roll across the box. I'm not sure why. I know he didn't want to get a touch on it and put it into the back of his own net, but even so, I think that Pearce had to do way more there to do something from stop that ball going across the box. And in the end, Bowen had a tap in. Very good at arriving late in the box in those situations. But it wasn't long, only 3 minutes after that, when Sarr got Charlton back in front, and that was looking like that was how the game would actually go and finish. Hull had some other chances. Jared Bowen forced a good save from Dylan Phillips, but Charlton were looking like they were going to hold on. But then lightning strikes twice for Charlton. They conceded in the later stages against Huddersfield in the 92nd minute. This time, Hull equalising in the 96th minute. A gut-wrenching one for Charlton. A header from Lewis Potter, which couldn't be held by Dylan Phillips. I think in the end it went down as a Phillips own goal, and Hull were able to salvage a point. So Charlton, another frustrating one when he'd thrown the points away late on, and it just, week to week, they're just getting dragged further and further down into that relegation picture at the moment. Then into Saturday's games, where we have West Brom getting back to winning ways with a very dramatic 3-2 win over Birmingham. Birmingham got a bit hard done by in this one, I felt like. Much better than they were in midweek against QPR. For this one, they took the lead after just 3 minutes. Lukas Djukovic, who at times has had maybe a bit of a frustrating season, but he got back in the goals in this one, and if you play to his strengths, he's always going to be one of the most clinical strikers in these areas. Brilliant ball put in by Maxime Collin, and then Lukas Djukovic with the header down gave Birmingham the lead. West Brom did get back into it though. A ball smashed across the box, and Diangana at the far post got the final touch on it to make it 1-1. Birmingham then retook the lead going into the second half. A bullet header from Harley Dean, had no right to score from where he did really. A corner that was swung in, and then from quite far out got quite a bit of power behind it and made it 2-1. But I mean, the real difference in this game was Charlie Austin coming off the bench for West Brom. In his last 5 appearances, he's got 6 goals for West Brom, with the majority of those games being as a substitute as well. So what an impact he made on this game. But the first goal, the equaliser, absolute touch of brilliance. One touch, swivels on the ball, and then just pokes it into the top corner. Absolutely fantastic finish from outside the box. He had about 3 Birmingham defenders around him, and it took Charlie Austin, a little bit of time to get going this season, but he's really found himself in a hot run of form at the moment. And then 10 minutes later, heads in to make it 3-2 to West Brom. Once again, great movement in the box to lose his defender. Brilliant ball that swung in, and then Charlie Austin really was the difference in this game. You can see by the match stats, West Brom only had 3 shots on target for this game, but they scored with each of them, and that clinical nature has been what's serving West Brom so well this season. Birmingham got unlucky, much improved from some of their recent performances, but with a player like Austin, what can you do? And then we have Barnsley beating QPR by 5 goals to 3 in one of the most bizarre games going on this weekend, where it's fair to say that defensive performances weren't the particular high point from this one, but some great attacking play from Barnsley, and QPR completely fell apart at the back. And I don't know what went on after consecutive clean sheets in the Championship for QPR. Obviously, they've had an awful defensive record up to that point, but it looked like they finally got their act together defensively. And then Barnsley went and absolutely tore them apart going forward. Barnsley also a massive result for their season this one. They are still bottom of the table, but only 2 points behind Stoke and Wigan now, and 4 points off safety. Their home form, you really feel like has to be the thing that reinvigorates their season and could be the potential thing that leads to their survival. But Connor Chaplin, absolutely fantastic for this one. He got a hat-trick. QPR's defence was opened up so easily for this one. The first goal was a perfect example of that. The second goal as well, they allowed a corner to roll across the box, and Chaplin was there to smash that one in. There were a few moments in in the match where QPR looked to get back into the game. You know, they made it 1-1. They had it at 3-2 as well. Amos was a particular highlight from QPR, but apart from that at the back, they were absolutely woeful and by far one of the most tragic defensive performances we've seen from any side in the Championship so far this season. There was no structure or anything about their team performance. There were so many times where Barnsley had QPR in 1v1 situations when they would break going forward, and we've said this about Barnsley, you know, they do have it in their locker, especially at home, to score quite a few goals. They've scored more goals than anyone else in the Championship, up to 15th in the table, so it tells you that that's not been their issue so far. But I think that's got to be a particular season highlight for Barnsley. They do have some tough fixtures coming up over this festive period, but if they can get through that, maintain their home record, they might have a fighting chance. QPR will want to dust themselves off and go again, because this was an embarrassing performance. And then we have Brentford beating Fulham by 1-0, a result which does see Brentford going into the top 6 and are now 4th in the table, and probably one of their best performances of the season so far. Actually, they deserved way more than the 1 goal they actually got in this one. I said going into it that I thought that I could see quite a few goals being scored, but the 1 goal was enough for Brentford in this one. And one thing that's maybe been a bit overlooked so far this season has been how good Brentford have been defensively. Only Brentford and Leeds have conceded less than 20 goals so far into this season, and I mean, Pontus Jansson did a number on Mitrovic in this one. He kept him quiet for 90 minutes, but once again, some great attacking play from Brentford. The goal saw all 3 forwards combining. Ollie Watkins into Ben Rama with a nice bit of skill and a brilliant chip to the far post, an inch perfect into Mbemo, who then bagged for his 8th goal this season to make it 1-0. Brentford hit the post on 3 separate occasions for this one and were unlucky not to get more goals. Fulham hit the post early on and had sort of a few speculative efforts, but apart from that, barely tested David Raya. They were quite poor in this one actually, and Brentford, like I said, deserved more than the 1 goal they eventually went on to get. It was a brilliant performance from them. Then we have Blackburn picking up another win as they beat Bristol City by 2-0 away at Ashton Gate. Blackburn are that side at the moment who I think everyone's thinking surely they can't go ahead and finish in the top 6, but if they carry on this current run, they're only 1 point behind the playoffs at the moment, and as they're unbeaten in 6 now, to get this result without Bradley Dack as well, fantastic showing from the away side in this one. They took the lead after just 2 minutes. Bradley Johnson, after a nicely worked corner routine, the ball was rolled across the goal, and then Bradley Johnson with an absolutely smashing finish to make it 1-0. After that, Bristol City did have the chances to get back into it. You know, Elias and Ashley Williams, Jeju had a great one in the second half, but Blackburn were continuing to press going forward, and they had their fair share of chances. Bradley Johnson had another one, Sam Gallagher had a decent one, and Daniel Bentley had to be kept on his toes for this one. In the end, the second goal was sort of Bristol City's undoing. A bit of sloppy play trying to play out from the back. Blackburn pressed them well and then sent Adam Armstrong through on goal, and he neatly finished to make it 2-0 to the away side. And like I said, with this run that Blackburn are on at the moment, another clean sheet for them as well. After a shaky start to the season, Tony Mowbray's really got them playing at the moment. For Bristol City, hit a bit of a rough patch in their season. They're now out of the top 6, and something just needs to change because it's too easy to play them at the moment. Another side who's really picked themselves up the Championship lately has been Millwall. They're up to 11th now, unbeaten in their last 7 matches. Their away form has been absolutely terrific lately. They've won 3 of their last 4 on the road. In this game, it was Tom Bradshaw's goal in the first half which was the deciding factor between the two sides. Really well taken as well. The ball was hooked forward by Hutchinson. Bradshaw with a brilliant touch with his head, got it away from the defender, and then a smashing finish to put it in the back of the net. But Derby, once again, a really shoddy performance. Quite a few chances fell in the way of people like Waghorn, but he's having a shoddy season so far, missing sitter after sitter. And when Millwall took the lead, they were able to defend quite comfortably actually. You know, Derby, they weren't really causing them that many problems. They only had 1 shot on target for this game. Bilkowski did make a fantastic save in the second half though, from a deflection which was heading into the bottom corner, but he got down well to that, and Millwall were able to hold on for what was a comfortable 3 points away at Derby. This next game is, I think, the reason why Leeds United fans have trust issues with promotion. What a bonkers match we had. Leeds 3, Cardiff 3, one of the most dramatic comebacks we've seen in the Championship in recent years, it has to be said. Leeds were cruising in this one. Some fantastic football played throughout the first half. Helder Costa opened the screen after just 6 minutes. Once again, a flash Leeds break, really quick on the counter-attack. Brilliant ball from Pablo Hernandez and a nice finish from Helder Costa. Bamford made it 2 just 2 minutes after that in the 8th minute with a nice finish, and then he made it 3 in the second half with the penalty. And by that point onwards, you know, Leeds were cruising. They were creating a lot of chances. Cardiff had been poor up to that point. They hadn't offered much going forward, and Leeds were then, you know, sort of playing with the handbrake on. But then all of a sudden, as Cardiff get that first goal back from Lee Tomlin with a really nice finish after a poor punch from Kiko Casilla. I mean, even at that point, you're thinking they're not going to get back into it. But then we get late on, and Cardiff start to throw a few more players forward. Sean Morrison then makes it 3-2. A few minutes after that, Sean Morrison is then sent off for a reckless challenge on Eddie Nketiah, and you're thinking, okay, Leeds will probably hold on from here, playing with the extra man. But then with one of the most outrageous assists we've seen so far this season from Lee Tomlin, an audacious back heel as he's in the air, manages to elude the Leeds United defence. Glatzel gets in behind and then pokes it past Casilla, and the ball rolls into the back of the net to make it 3-3 for one of the most crazy comebacks we've ever seen. Leeds then had the chance to go on and win it even from then going forward, and Nketiah has a chance which is well saved, and then Ben White pops up with the goal gaping really, but the ball just hits him, squirms off him and goes wide. So, I mean, ultimately, looking at the picture, Leeds are still on a fantastic unbeaten run. They're comfortably in the top 2, and they've got a 10-point lead over Preston. But looking at their next fixtures, this Christmas period will be decisive for Leeds, because their next games are against Fulham away, Preston at home, Birmingham away, and then West Brom away. So, I mean, that'll be really telling for Leeds. I'm not going to lie, I did not see this one coming, but Sheffield Wednesday absolutely battering Nottingham Forest by 4-0. Jordan Rhodes rolling back the years for this one, scoring a hat-trick in the first half. What an unbelievable performance from Sheffield Wednesday. We'll touch on them first because they were absolutely ruthless for this game. The 4-4-2 they've been playing with lately, Harris on the left, Adam Reach on the right, and then Jordan Rhodes and Stephen Fletcher up front. They absolutely tore Forest apart in that first half. Jordan Rhodes opened the scoring after just 9 minutes. He then made it 2 after 13, but the third goal was really the icing on the cake, rolling back the edge with an audacious overhead kick to make it 3-0. I think it's fair to say that Jordan Rhodes over his career at Sheffield Wednesday has struggled, but they never really played to his strengths in the right system. Maybe this is finally the time to get the best out of him, because Fletcher and Rhodes, they really work well with each other, and with those two wide men, you know, it was a brilliant ball in from Adam Reach for the second goal. Could this be the resurgence of Jordan Rhodes, who, you know, back in the day was an absolutely phenomenal striker in the Championship? I think he went 3 back-to-back seasons scoring over 20 goals in the league. Stephen Fletcher then made it 4-0 before half-time, poking in from a corner, and I mean, Nottingham Forest were in absolute shambles. We mentioned it in the build-up to this one that Forest have struggled to score goals at home so far this season, but defensively they've been pretty tight. For this one, they completely fell apart. I mean, people were leaving at half-time, and it was by far their worst showing of the season so far. They were absolutely awful. Every time Wednesday went forward, they looked like they'd score. And the top 6 race is such an interesting one at the moment. Sheffield Wednesday found themselves on a decent unbeaten run. They're now 5th in the table, whereas Forest have slipped down to 8th. They're without a win in their last 4 matches now, but there's still really not a lot in it. Then we had North End getting back-to-back wins in the Championship with a 2-1 home victory over Luton. We've reacted well after that awful run we went on with 4 consecutive losses, but this one, not the most quality in this game, I'm not going to lie about that, but Preston getting the job done at home. We took the lead after 5 minutes through Paul Gallagher. We were given a penalty, which both sides got a penalty in this one, and looking back at both of them, I thought they were both incredibly soft. I didn't think that either were a penalty, to be honest with you, but Gallagher's initial penalty was saved, but he scored the rebound. After that, Luton get back into the game just before half-time. Collins slotting in the penalty. Like I said, thought it was very soft, but the same can be said about North End, so those two sort of balance each other out. But Luton, from that point onwards, you know, going into the second half, looked to slow down the game, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, they were happy to sit back for the point at Deepdale. Preston were having a lot of possession, but couldn't really create much and get much going moving forward. You know, it was a lot of sideways and backwards passes. We had a few nice passages of play, but with no final product at the end of it, really. We really weren't creating a lot for this game. And at 1-1, Luton had a marvellous chance to go on and win it. Harry Cornick sent through on goal after Ben Pearson had lost out on the ball. A 1v1 situation against Declan Rudd, but Declan Rudd makes an absolutely fantastic save to keep North End in it. If Cornick sticks that away, then I think that Luton probably go on to win the game from there. And it's those fine areas of margins that have been costing Luton so far this season. Eventually though, North End, Jaden Stockley off the bench coming on, and probably one of the most scrappy goals I've seen scored so far this season. We had about 4 attempts at goal before it eventually fell to Jaden Stockley with a nice composed finish to make it 2-1. But like I said, Preston in the end, not a great performance, but got the job done more than anything else. Next up, we got Stoke against Reading, ending as a 0-0 draw. I'm not going to lie, I don't have a lot to say about this game. It finished with no shots on target from either side. What more do you want, really? At the end of the day, I think it was 2 poor sides going up against each other in this one, really. Neither side was offering much going forward. Stoke, obviously, after coming off the back of that 3-0 win over Luton, I thought I'd have a bit more cutting edge about them going forward, but that wasn't really on show for this one. They probably had the better chances, but even that's saying something. Most of them were speculative efforts that went harmlessly over the bar, obviously. Reading lately not been on a great run. I think we have been seeing injuries really hamper their season. It's definitely coincided with them tailing off in the league and their form at the moment. They're not really playing with that same intensity or crispness in their passes at the moment, going through the midfield. Ultimately, I think it was a big opportunity missed for either side, really, as both sides were there for the taking. Then we had Swansea getting back to winning ways with a 3-1 home victory over Middlesbrough. Definitely needed for Swansea after their recent run of results. But Ayew taking the lead for Swansea from the penalty spot. He did well to win the penalty, really. Didn't give up on a loose ball after his original shot was saved. He was the real danger man for Swansea in this one. But Borough brought it back in the second half. A really nice finish from Tavernier, smashing finish in at the near post. And from that point onwards, Borough weren't looking too bad, but the thing that undid them was the 2 red cards in this one. Brom with a ridiculous challenge to get himself sent off. From that point onwards, Swansea are of course able to set the tempo of the game going forwards. Barry Mackay with a brilliant ball into AU, and then AU with a smashing finish makes it 2-1 for Swansea. Surridge then makes it 3-1 with a nice finish. And to make things worse, Borough get another red card, Paddy McNair this time. I think I'd have to see it at a different angle. It looked a little bit soft, but I can see why the referee's given it. You know, it was needless from McNair to throw himself in like that with his elbow. And ultimately, it means that Borough's squad going into the next few games is going to be even thinner than it already is. And Middlesbrough's next game is up against Stoke. And I mean, that could be really season defining for them. If they lose that, they could fall into the bottom 3. Swansea definitely needed that after recent results. They'll be hoping to kick on from now. Then to finish things off, we had Wigan drawing 1-1 against Huddersfield. We've said it quite a bit on the channel so far. Hull are probably the most unpredictable side to call in the Championship. Wigan, on the other hand, are probably the most predictable. Another one where they shot themselves in the foot, where they got themselves into a good winning position but couldn't carry that on into their second half. And for the first half, Wigan were playing some good football. Huddersfield shot themselves in the foot for the opening goal, you have to say, trying to play out from the back. A poor pass from Grabra into the path of Josh Windass, and he finished well to make it 1-0. He was almost gifted the same opportunity in the second half as well, latching onto a poor pass, but Huddersfield just about managed to clear their lines. And the disappointing thing from Wigan was they weren't really playing with that same intensity in the second half to go on and win it. They were looking to slow down the game a little bit, and when Huddersfield have a player like Colin Grant, they've always got that chance of getting back into the game with just one moment of quality, and it was a fantastic finish, you have to say. Just jinxing his way inside of his man and then launching it into the top post. Brilliant finish from him, and then from then on, both sides had chances, but it ended up fizzling out to a 1-1 draw. But guys, there you have it. That will now wrap it up for today's video of the Championship roundup. As you can see on screen now, that is how the league table is currently shaping up. In terms of my result of the weekend, I think I'm going to have to give it to Sheff Wednesday for that fantastic away performance at Nottingham Forest. And it's going to be the double whammy for them as well. My goal of the weekend is also going to go to a Sheff Wednesday play, Jordan Rhodes, for his 3rd goal to complete the hat-trick with that ridiculous overhead kick. But other than that, guys, that will now wrap it up for today's video. So if you did go on to enjoy, make sure you do leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. Make sure you do subscribe for a bit of regular Championship content. But other than that, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.